Cyberpunk 2077. It's not far-fetched to call it the most anticipated game of all time. It was first teased in 2012 and there was an immediate, emphatic response, with millions around the world discussing their excitement for the game. From the beginning, the game was portrayed as a riveting, free-flowing adventure that would immerse players in a lifelike sci-fi universe. Why wouldn't people become interested? A dystopian future where technology has advanced to such levels that you can augment your body to include high-tech weaponry, you can ride around in futuristic cars, you can take down enemies with ultra-sophisticated guns, or you can just take some time to explore the futuristic wonderland that is Cyberpunk 2077. Yet when the game was released, a gap formed between the game that was supposed to be and the game that people were playing. Countless bugs deflated expectations, so much so that the latest trend for gaming videos is to make compilations of all of the bugs that are within the game. People in cars moving straight through walls and doors, people stuck in a T-pose, certain body parts sticking through clothing. And that's just for PC. The game is basically not playable on PS4 and Xbox One. Frame rates are incredibly low, the world just doesn't load, the game constantly crashes. It was so bad that Sony decided to remove it from their store and offer full refunds to anyone who bought it. But the real problem isn't with the bugs. Bugs can be fixed. Where I see the problem is, for one, some of the game's core promises are simply left out. The game consists of 3 separate paths, each supposedly having completely different storylines. In reality, they don't. Each routes back to generally the same plot. And on top of it, every decision that you make, down to what you say in conversation, was supposed to change the storyline. It generally doesn't. Players were promised an in-depth wanted system in which police would pursue the characters in a high-speed chase similar to that of GTA. But turns out police do not even use vehicles and are built on a very basic algorithm. But AI was supposed to be groundbreaking. As it turns out, it's laughable. Some pointed out that AI in GTA games from the early 2000s are more lifelike than what is found in Cyberpunk. An even bigger issue though is the fact that there were no mention of bugs or different gameplay. Gamers were tricked. The team knowingly built up hype for the game, all the while dismissing and actively hiding anything that might show the true state of the game. In November, the maker of the game, CD Projekt Red, sent non-disclosure agreements to journalists ahead of Cyberpunk 2077's launch. In the NDA, they had to agree to never include their own original gameplay footage in their reviews. They would have to use the gameplay footage that CD Projekt Red provided, which had obviously been handpicked and doctored to make sure that there were no glitches. On top of it, reviewers only received the PC version of the game, which was the most polished out of all of the Cyberpunk versions. Had they received the console version of the game, the reviews would be much different, to say the least. Plus, the reviewers received the game days before release, meaning they had to rush through the storyline, write a couple thousand words, and send off their review. This is why critics were generally giving Cyberpunk solid scores before the release. This manipulated the view of the game and seemingly confirmed the statements about revolutionary gameplay that the game's maker had made along the way of development. The game broke consumer records. CD Projekt Red covered its development and marketing costs before launch, racking up more than 8 million pre-orders. And shortly after the release, the orders reached 15 million total copies sold. They even broke Steam's record for concurrent players in a single game with a peak of 1,054,388 users at one time. Basically, in ignoring the actual state of the game and continuing to aggressively market it as a next generation and a never before seen advancement in the gaming industry, they broke sale records. So what can we learn from the Cyberpunk team and apply it to our own lives and businesses? What did they do wrong, and how can we improve upon it? The first obvious thing that they did wrong is lie. Some people might want me to end the video right there and just say, don't lie, it's as easy as that. That's all they did wrong. But I think that there's more to it. I don't think that they are a deceitful company. In fact, they have been known to be an incredibly respectful company up to this point. So obviously, they didn't just flip a switch and become some awful, dishonest company out of nowhere. I would imagine it started with a white lie and expanded upon itself. I think we can all relate to this. We carry out what Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler called life lies. When we live a life lie, we attempt to manipulate reality with perception, thought, and action so that only a narrowly desired outcome is allowed to exist. Now, these usually start small. Kind of funny way to explain this is through an episode of New Girl that I recently saw. In it, the main character, Jess, makes up a white lie to get the other characters to get along. She tells both of them that the other is having man problems.
Maybe you could back off a little since Nick's been having, you know, man problems.
Man problems?
Man problems.
Huh.
But of course, they find out, it blows up in her face, and they go back to fighting.
Who told you about my man problems?
Who told you about my man?
And I think this moment is so funny because we have all done something like this. You alter the truth a little bit, hoping that nobody figures it out, but ultimately they do. And it would have been better to just tell the truth the whole time. So, somewhere along the line, the marketing team or the executives or whoever made a small little lie. Maybe they said Cyberpunk would have a feature that was still up in the air on whether or not the devs could complete it. Then someone else made another one on top of that lie, and another one, and so on, and now you're sitting here with an ambitious release date and way too many features to complete by that date. And along with lying comes another mistake that we can improve upon, which is the simple mistreatment and miscommunication to team members. Now, this isn't as obvious as it seems. This is especially true for entrepreneurs, since you'll have a small team around you and then slowly grow in size from that point forward. So making tight connections is what's going to make your business do exponentially better. You have to remember that everyone is constantly looking for the next way to step up, to improve their life. Let's say you have a 9 to 5 and you feel like your work isn't being appreciated. Chances are that you won't hesitate to look for a new opportunity or maybe start something on your own. And when you do start something on your own, you have to remember that those people that you now employ are going to be doing the exact same thing. They're going to be looking for a new way to expand themselves. If they don't feel like their work is being appreciated, they're gone. Try your best to close the gap between you and them. You eat with them, you talk with them a lot, you make them feel valuable. The one rule that best-selling author Dave Ramsey claims he incorporates into his business is no gossip. Think about it. You build up this ecosystem that works to make the world a better place in some way or another, and then the ones that come in and gossip, well, they're ultimately undermining that process because they're creating toxicity and hostility between the team members. And we can see that this gossip rule, or even the basic rule of treating others with respect, was not found at times during the development of Cyberpunk. We know this because of Glassdoor, a site where people rate their employers. And on Glassdoor, current and former employees said it was chaos behind the scenes. Office rumors spread like mad on Discord servers. There was fighting among the company's management. Poor planning led to harsh deadlines being enforced on the employees. It got so bad that CD Projekt Red's employees were asked to work overtime and work 6-day weeks. Which leads to the third thing that we can learn from this mess: planning. It's not surprising that Cyberpunk had several delays of the game. I mean, this is actually very common in all forms of software development, and it's known as the planning fallacy. This is a phenomenon where predictions on how much time a particular task will take to complete are exceedingly optimistic. We as humans are inherently terrible at estimating. When you and your team have to carry something out, you get a little too confident and you claim that you can get it done quickly. It's understandable. You want to be the one that gets stuff done. And this can play even more of a factor when those above you simply place a bold deadline on you in hopes that it will motivate you more. So how do you go about proper planning? Well, some ways to do this include breaking the problem into sub-problems. You estimate using ranges rather than explicit dates. You find similar tasks to see how long it took you to do those tasks. You understand your margins. If you're estimating something completely new, you might need to take a larger margin factor since you have no idea what you're really doing in planning. And last, but definitely not least, you need to stand up for yourself when you notice something wrong. In the case that someone else planned and placed unrealistic deadlines on you, well, you stand up and you make it clear that's not going to work. By standing up for yourself, you may fuel others around you to step up too, now that someone else has had the courage to do so. On the other hand, by going along with something when you know that you shouldn't, you condition yourself to do the same the next time. This is exactly how gigantic, corrupt, bureaucratic organizations form. One step at a time, people don't stand up for something that's wrong, and soon you have unchecked managers expecting incredibly unrealistic outcomes. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed my take on Cyberpunk and how we can improve from their mistakes. I'm gonna go watch some of those bug compilations because they are hilarious. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.